Welcome to Litcast, the podcast covering GCSE literature revision and notes for WJEC. These podcasts are designed to be used as an additional revision tool. There's nothing new or groundbreaking here, just revision notes in an on-the-go friendly format. Using these alone won't guarantee you an A star, but they can help you build your confidence to apply this knowledge to your exam questions and your classwork. With that being said, let's get started. Hello and welcome back. In this episode we're going to be briefly talking about Carlson and Whit, two of the more minor characters in Of Mice and Men. Even though these characters are not considered major developed characters within the novella, they're still important to consider and they do still represent certain aspects of life in the 1930s. So we are going to start off with Carlson and think about kind of the different prejudices and attitudes that he embodies. So he's seen as unsentimental and aggressive, and he convinces Candy to let him shoot the dog. He doesn't really consider anyone's feelings. He thinks Candy's dog should be shot because it's old and smelly. He thinks Candy could have one of Slim's puppies instead, and he can't see that Candy might actually have an emotional attachment to his dog. After he's shot the dog, he doesn't apologise to Candy and cleans his gun in full view of everyone. He doesn't understand why George and Slim seem upset at the end of the novella. He sees Lenny's death as simply practical and he doesn't feel any emotions about it. Lenny has to be killed, and he was. He's quick to pick a fight with Curly. He calls him yellow as a frog belly and a goddamn punk. So we can clearly see that Carlson embodies the ideas of insensitivity, aggressiveness, and just not necessarily wanting to connect with anything on an emotional level, which embodies that idea of the harsh life of ranch workers. In contrast to this, Whit is someone who's a lot younger and he's almost destined for a life forever on the ranch. He is a bit more enthusiastic and fun, which is possibly why his name sounds like the word wit, as in to be witty. He's not bitter about ranch life at the moment. The reader knows he'll probably turn into a sad old figure like Candy, but Whit at this point isn't aware of this. He plays cards with George, but as soon as they get talking, he's not interested in the game anymore, which shows that he is actually lonely on the ranch and is desperate for company and friendship. There's signs that Whit is already destined to this harsh ranch life and is already being affected by it. He already seems to be weighed down by the life, as if he's carrying an invisible grain bag. He's sad and nostalgic about the departed Bill Tenner, and he knows all about and recommends old Susie's brothel, going into quite a bit of detail. He's got no ambitions. He's already wasting his money on girls and drink. He represents what George could become without Lenny and their dream farm. So if you were writing an essay about a theme, for example, you could link these characters into that. You could link them to loneliness, you could link them to prejudice, you could link them to destiny or fate. And just mentioning these demonstrates quite an in-depth knowledge of the novella because they are more minor characters. And thinking about the connections between them and other characters is useful. Like, for example, the connection between Whit being what George could become, which obviously becomes more possible when Lenny dies at the end of the novella. So that's just some really brief notes and revision on the characters of Carlson and Whit. Thank you very much for listening and tune into the next one. You've been listening to Litcast, the podcast covering GCSE literature revision and notes for WJEC. This podcast is available to download from castbox.com, so if you're listening on YouTube, the link will be in the description below, where you can download these to listen offline on your phone and on the go. Thank you for listening and good luck with your revision.